We're just about 7 o'clock, so we'll make a start if we could. Well, welcome to everybody. Long time ago that we did this, or it feels like it anyway. Hopefully this evening you'll see a lot of information that the club I'll give you by way of an update at the moment. You'll get to meet, if you haven't met him already, our manager James Rowbury and our sporting director Darren Kelly as well. We're going to try and make it a little bit interactive as well. So the way the agenda will work is give a little bit of intro now, and then we'll move to Rob Phillips, who will interview James. Darren Kelly, then our sporting director, going to give a bit of an overview of the way the whole football operation is working, the role of the sporting director, so on and so forth. And then we'll move into all the club side of life, which will be led by Nigel Stevenson, our general manager, and also Kelly Anderson. Oh, she's at the bar. Blimey. Who's head of safeguarding at the bar? Blimey, I don't know if that's allowed. And then Joe Crocker will give us an update on the trust, and then we'll move into some questions and answers at the end. You'll see on each of the chairs, there's a variety of different papers there, but one of the things that we have shared with you this evening is some kind of FAQs that hopefully cover a few things that may or may not be on people's minds. Some of it leads into the presentations that we're going to show you this evening, and some of that is for background information. If we can keep questions to the end, other than when we finish with Rob's interview with James, where we're going to give 10-15 minutes there, whether anybody's got any questions from the audience as well. Just a quick apology. There's a couple of directors who are unable to make it tonight due to other commitments and illness as well. We've got a bit of illness in the camp. Not too bad, they're okay, but there are a few people who are not very well at the moment, so apologies for them. The rest of us are here, and Sean Johnson will join us a little bit later on. So if we kick off proceedings, and I want to thank Rob Phillips as well for taking his time this evening with us. As we all know, and it's the worst kept secret I always think on Radio Wales, that Rob Phillips is a Newport County fan, which is why he's happy to come and do what he's doing with us this evening. But can we please give a warm welcome to Rob Phillips, and also our new manager James Rowbury as well. Rob, if you can... Right.
Forward, James.
Thank you. Shall you go, Rob? You go there?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. Hello, everybody. Well, you know who I am, don't you? And you still know who this guy is next to me. Believe it or not, tomorrow night is the first time I'm going to watch Newport with James in charge, so I'm really looking forward to it. So you may be able to tell me more about it than I know already, but first of all, James, you've been in a few weeks. We haven't lost any hair. So, how's it going then?
Why do you have to get so personal with my hair?
Oh, Serge, you need to go on.
Yeah. No, I've loved it, and it's been 5 weeks? 20th of October I started, so it's now the 26th. So I've loved every minute of it. I see it as my club in that sense. So it's been a time where I just throw myself into it and trying to do the best I can for the team first and foremost, and then trying to make the supporters, trying to make them as best I can happy and proud of their team at Newport, which I'm thriving on that, to be honest, at the minute.
So let's go back. It's fair to say you've got history with this club, your family. First of all, your granddad, Jimmy Jenkins. I said to Tim Thraves, the match announcer, who knows, he's forgotten more about Newport County AFC and Newport County than I will ever know. And I said to him, do you remember Jimmy Jenkins? He said, yeah, he lived on so-and-so. Give me the house, the address. What was his connection with the club then?
Yeah, my grandfather used to live opposite the walk-in on Chepstow Road, my grandmother.
That's what he said, yeah.
That's what it was. And when my grandfather passed away before I was born, hence why I was named James, was named after my grandfather. He had a lot to do with Gwent County. he used to own a coal business with his brother Tony, and he used to do the Gwent County team, so that's where your Tony Pulis's, your Glyn Joneses, who all went across to Bristol Rovers from there. But he worked with Len Ashurst, if I'm right, as youth team coach back in the late 70s, 80s, that kind of time, if I'm right, from what my grandmother tells me, and the press articles that I used to read. So it's quite a nice connection really to have, because it's quite a proud thing for me really, knowing that my grandfather was heavily involved here.
And of course your dad, Steve, played, I think, in the first season of the Reform Club.
Yeah, he played in 1989 when my dad always says he never played for Newport County. He played for Newport AFC, which Mr.
David
Hando, which I would be right, Mr. Hando. So sorry, I'm going back to you, wasn't it? Yeah, he played in 1989. I remember, I think he scored the second goal because Norman Parcell scored the first goal, if I remember right.
He did.
Right, so and I think Norman was captain at 17. You don't know that.
I remember Norman Parcell.
But if I'm right, I think my dad scored the second goal. And the reason I remember it, was it Satan Greavesy, the programme which was on lunchtime. I remember having a VHS of that being recorded in my house, and my dad scoring it, believe it or not. So I remember that on Morton and Marsh, and I remember being mascot at Morton and Marsh as well.
Wow, from mascot to manager.
Yeah, that was a headline I've seen before.
Yeah.
But I had lovely blonde hair then though, Rob.
Before the worries of management. And I can confirm all that because I consulted the Bible for me, Amber in the Blood, Tony Amberson's book, and you're spot on, James. Your dad scored against Almondsbury in a 1-0 win in front of 285 people, the second game of the season, because you all know Pegasus Juniors was the first, and Norman Parcell scored in that in a 1-0 win.
There you go, what good knowledge that is.
And there's a picture of Steve in the book as well, if you get to the 1989-90 season. So tell us, you were a player, but then you became a coach. Why did you start coaching?
Because I wasn't good enough as a player.
Simple as that.
As simple as that. I had this strong thought of coaching because of my grandfather, if I'm being honest. Because of what he did, and kind of being brought up on that, knowing that. My dad always run Newport Corries, Newport Corinthians. So I always, after he finished playing, which I remember going everywhere with him, so when he played for the FC, then he played for Lambwern, he used to play for Spencers, then he played for Hill, he played for, I remember going all over the place with him, but then he became manager at Newport Corries. So you're always in around the change room environment at a young age. So I was a kid at Bristol City from 12 to 16. Dave Burnside, God rest his soul, was the gentleman who took me over there. He was a Cali manager at Bristol City. And then Glyn Jones, who really started me on my coaching journey, was the person who brought me here when I was 16 to play at Hartridge in the academy there, which was obviously Newport's academy, if you like, a youth team. And that's where probably I got my ground in the discipline and professionalism was from my period with Glyn. And because obviously my connections that Glyn had with my grandfather was that Glyn put me down a coaching route. So probably if it wasn't for Glyn in that sense, I probably wouldn't be sat here now.
And just to explain, James, I'll spare your blushes, you were one of the youngest ever to get the UEFA Pro license.
Yeah, I was at that time, yeah. So
29, I think you were.
29 I was, yeah, and I think someone else has got it now. But that was an achievement, but I always had the ambition that I wanted to manage. I could never come and publicly say it, as you know, Rob, because when you're a first team coach at Cardiff, you can't come out and say that you want to be a manager, because I think you get the sack. I think that's why I lasted so long at Cardiff, because I was probably politically correct.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because you joined Cardiff in 2013, didn't you? Having worked for Newport County as well. And I've been looking, you worked under Russell Slade, Paul Trollope, Neil Warnock, Mick McCarthy, Neil Harris as well, yeah. So you must have you picked up something from all of those people?
Yeah, the good, the bad and the ugly.
Yeah,
which we won't go into all that. Right. So No, they were all very influential in my thoughts and my philosophies of how I see things now, whether that's from a footballing perspective or a personal perspective and a family perspective. They help shape me as well as everybody else I work with, because when I worked at the FAW, I worked with Ocean Roberts, obviously worked with Glyn at Newport, lots of different people along the way that helped shape my thoughts on how I think football should be played, but how you should act as a person.
But it struck me, particularly, let's go back to the week that you got the Newport job. I'm going to be a bit contentious here. Forgive me, but I've got to ask it. If you'd stayed at Cardiff, you might have been managing Cardiff now, mightn't you?
Thank you, Rob.
No, but was it a decision to
no.
make when you came in? Was there a decision? It's a big leap from having, I'm not going to say a comfortable job at Cardiff, because there's never any such thing in football, is there? But it was that ambition to go on your own, yeah?
Yeah. I made a conscious decision that I needed to go away from Cardiff to develop myself. And as a job goes as a first-time manager, to get your hometown club that you've got, the connections you've got to, one from a personal and family perspective, but also from a friendship level with the likes of Wayne and Jared on the staff, that made it a pretty seamless transition for me. I could go into lots of different details about different things, but the job at Newport County for me fits, and it fits because I probably won't be able to implement the things I'm implementing at Cardiff like I'm implementing here, because I've been at Cardiff for such a long time, being part of the furniture, if you like, being a club appointment, that I'll be forever grateful for the owner and Ken and Mehmet and Steve for keeping me there for that time. But it was time for me to go and spread my wings, if you like.
And it's fair to say, it's not many managers come into a club that is doing okay. It's often a relegation battle you're straight into. You haven't had that. So have you had to tweak, or would you say transform things?
I keep using the strapline, which I get a bit of stick from my mates about it's evolution, not a revolution. And I've probably seen it a few times at Cardiff where it became a revolution and not an evolution. So when you're doing well, it's kind of just adding your own little bits to it along the way, which hopefully I've done. Hopefully I can continue to do, but this is not a short-term project, this is a long-term project, and hence why the club showed faith in me by giving me a contract till 2024. So I'll do my utmost to try and develop not just the team, but I promised the chairman and the board that I would develop the football club as well.
What's the ambition this season?
I think it's I'm not going to get carried away by saying promotion, because I'll have my own ambitions as well as what the players do. What I've learned quite quickly is that we'll take things game by game, and if we focus on purely what we need to do as a collective, which we have done, we didn't probably do to great effect like I would have hoped at Crawley, but it's like my next door neighbour said to me today. He said, it's a shame you can't put two halves of a game of football together. I went, cheers Ian. I said, funny that, if we could, we'd probably be in the Premier League. So I'm conscious we are where we are at the minute. We are a developing football club in League Two, and my job is to try and develop us and make us better with the support staff and the hierarchy to make us as best as we possibly can.
How important was it that Wayne Hatswell stayed?
It was never in doubt for me, because let's face fact, not beat around the bush with it. If Michael Flynn comes in for Wayne at a championship club, well, it's progression and it's part of development. So that's a credit to him for his work. But it was never a doubt for me that Wayne would stay. It was a case of that, like he said, let the dust settle, let me get my feet under the table, let me get my way of working across to him, which we've been very good friends for 10 years. So since his first spell as player coach, when it was under Tim Harris, when Tim brought me in as first team coach in that time for 4 or 5 months just before Anthony Hudson. So we had stayed very, very close since then. So it was never in doubt that he would sign. It was never in doubt for me. But things can change, and football's a funny old game, and you never know what comes around the corner. But he's shown his commitment to, first and foremost, me, but most importantly to the football club, because he's been terrific to the football club. also the football club's been terrific to him in what they've given him. So I can't thank Gavin and the board and Darren for getting that done for me.
He could be an angry man though, can't he?
I think he'll say that he's been surprised what I've been like at times as well. So we've got a good balance where our chemistry's there, where we can be good cop, bad cop, and we can balance each other off pretty well. Which the most important thing for me though is that the players respect Wayne, the staff at the football club respect Wayne, and the fans know what job he's done. So he can be angry, but it's because he cares and he wants us to do well. So that's the most important thing, and we try to do the best we can for the football club.
So as a manager, and don't take this the wrong way, have you had to give the hairdryer treatment yet?
No, I haven't given the hairdryer treatment. I've shown probably disappointment in when we've maybe not done something as well as what we could, because I think the players have set the bar really high with expectations. So it couldn't have gone off to a better start, Mr. Chairman, really, could it? When we go 3-1 away to Bristol Rovers, 5-0 at home to Stevenage. Okay, we lost 1-0 to Morecambe in the FA Cup, but if you look at it on performance-wise, we competed and we're probably the better team against a League One team. So that shows where we can be at. And obviously take Swindon in the Papa John's out of the equation, which I think we should have won that game. And I'm going to be biased then to say about Hartlepool was a late winner, but we're still developing where we're putting 45, 50, 60 minutes of games together, but we don't then quite see that consistency out, but we're developing still. So we have to be patient with that as well. And then if we look at the last game against Swindon, which I felt as though we should have won, and Crawley, some might say that we were lucky. But if you look on first half, I thought we didn't create enough chances in that game. So we had a lot of passes, and I'll hear murmurings of supporters saying, oh, you pass it too much. But that's the philosophy we're trying to build towards, and that's what I've asked the players to do. So we're trying to build a style of football where we become progressive. I want us to play forward a little bit more, but with regards to possession, Crawley is the first team that sat in really deep against us. And it's like when I spoke to a couple of senior players today, we have to take that as a compliment, because teams are dropping in deep against us because they're worried about us. So we're going to have to be a little bit more patient. I'm not going to be, and I'll make it clear to the supporters, I'm not going to be a manager that gets it and launches it. So that's the way we're going to play. And I believe that's the way we need to play.
But there's always a pressure in games, isn't there? Whichever team, you can take Swansea City, who pass teams to death, frankly. But there will always be at 0-0 with 35 minutes gone and no hint of a shot on goal. There'll always be a section of fans who get it forward. You can probably hear that. I'm not saying any people here say that, but you can hear it, can't you?
And I'm cool with that, because that's their prerogative. They pay their money to come and watch, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. I have no problem whatsoever in them shouting it, as long as they don't shout it when I get to my girls' school or outside my house. Then I might get the ump a little bit, but long as, they can shout it from the terraces and shout it at me in the street. But one of the important things is that we're trying to build a philosophy that is going to stay here for a long time. Michael done it with Wayne. It's my job to take that on to the next level. And we have got to be able to mix that play up though. But again, it's one game that maybe we've not done it to good effect. We've done it pretty reasonably well in the other games.
Who coaches? You or Wayne, or both?
Both. That's one thing I probably have had to learn that I've got to manage a little bit more. So, and Jared in that as well. So not forgetting Jared, the three of us. And on the staff, we got 3 UEFA Pro licensed coaches, where I'm not sure that many staff have got that in League Two.
That's huge.
So that is a compliment really to the football club, because of the direction they're trying to go with regards to coaching element. But we've got a pretty good balance with regards to myself and Wayne, how we do things. So, and with Jared as well. So, yeah, we're pretty mixing it up in that sense.
And I will ask this. Sometimes when somebody hasn't played a manager hasn't played, you've almost got to earn your stripes with the senior players in the dressing room. Have you felt that at all since you've come in?
No, because I just think that if you're a good person and you treat people with respect, and which I believe I have done, hence the results have been what they've been, there's been a massive buy-in. So I think one thing I've always been told is to be authentic. So is to be myself and don't try to be something you're not. And that's what I try to do with lads. And I think the moment you try and do that anyway, people see through it. So a couple of things I said to lads that the three, I've got kind of key values that I work towards. I won't go through them all, but the three key ones to the players was about excellence, honesty and humility. So we've got to try and be the best we can be. We've got to be humble enough to recognise when we make mistakes. And then also we've got to be honest in that fact where if we do something wrong or we're not given our all, then we've got to hold our hands up to that.
Now, I know you've been on a Zoom meeting with a few of my colleagues today, because it's the press conference today ahead of tomorrow night's game. Got to say, once he's done here, he's jetting off to Colchester. Well, jet is probably the wrong word.
Jared is my driver at the back of the room.
Yeah, it never stops. I want to ask you a couple of things before I open it up for everybody else as well, because as you know from my days on the radio, I'm terrible at asking questions and you're far better, so he's ready for it, wherever is
Nice.
Yeah,
Be nice to me, please.
be nice, yeah. Well, you've got to say, I mean, this is the only Meet the Manager we've had this season. There've been one season, a couple of seasons, where we've had a couple. So no pressure. We liked it.
Hopefully it's your only one.
Yeah, quite. You were talking today about the transfer window. Chairman, you might want to hide your ears on this, cover your ears, but it'll be your first transfer window. A, you expecting to be busy, and B, will this really bring home the fact that now you're a manager and not just a coach? And also, how does it work with a technical director and a manager like yourself? Because it's a new model for the club. Try and explain it for us.
Yeah. So pretty simple in the sense that Chairman and Darren made it quite clear that any footballing decision with regards to players and staff would fall on me. So I'll have the final say on everything that comes in and out of the football club. So with regards to how the window would work, I don't expect it to be a busy window. If it is, then we would have to get some out before we get some in, because it's quite well documented that we've got a large squad. So to do that, I'd have to probably get 2 or 3 out to get maybe 1 or 2 in. We won't, highly unlikely that we won't be buying anybody. It will be dealing in loans and frees, because I feel though there's my opportunities with the connections that I got to bring in potential loans. But how it works for myself and Darren, I'll say to Darren that, say for argument's sake, that we'll have, and he'll go through it in his presentation, that I'll need for every position a list of 4 or 5 players as ranked 1 to 4. I'll have my opinions on it, he'll have his. I'll consult Wayne and my staff to see that what we may need to bring in, and that's how we'll work. So we'll have coverage on anything if anything happens. So I'll have plan A, B, C, and D. So that's how it'll work.
I think that's worth clearing with people, because it is a new structure. Other clubs are doing it now, but actually the process, even leading to your appointment, was a different sort of process to what this club has done in the past.
Yeah, that'll probably be for the chairman and Darren to talk about later. But yeah, it's a very thorough process that they go through, and it's a very thorough process in everything we do, because at the end of the day, everything we do, there needs to be a why to it. So it's not just done because I want to do it, it's because it's the best for the football club to get the best results on the football pitch, to get the best possible outcome, to get us up this division.
Now, just about tomorrow night, I mean, I'm back from Barnsley today. I know what the motorways have been like the last couple of days, going up and back. You went to Crawley, which is a horrendous place to get to, let's be honest. And then back on Tuesday night. I don't know how many of the fans here went, but you know what it's like. I know you're off to Colchester tonight. I assume the players have gone already. How do you get them over the wear and tear? I mean, okay, you might make changes just to cover that, but What about the treatment and the rest for players in between games?
Well, first thing, we're paid to do a job, so we've got a job to do. And I'll make that clear. We've got, because I could turn around and say, yeah, we've got all these games, this, that, and the other, but like I keep telling the lads, we've got the best job in the world. For me, I've got the best job in the world. I'm a football manager of my hometown club. They're playing football every day and getting paid. So how we prepare, first and foremost, is that with regards to where the club have been brilliant for me since I came in, was regards to overnight stays, to ensure we got that, to get the best possible travel, ensure we got the best nutrition available, with regards to meals, with regards to preparation of that. And then we got back late, early Wednesday morning. They had Wednesday off. They're in today training. Prepared the team as best we possibly can. And then we'll prepare again with meetings tomorrow morning for the game tomorrow night. So it won't just be a case that get to the hotel now tonight and not see them till the game tomorrow. We'll have 2 meetings tomorrow, one in the morning with regards to any opposition information and set plays, and then we'll do a game plan then prior to we leave. And we're quite thorough in what we try to do.
You said you got the best job in the world. You enjoying it?
I love it. I love every minute of it, because it's something I feel passionate about and something I want to something I want to do really well in. So I want to be successful. You know, I either want to take Newport up, which is the aim, in whether that's in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. But that's my aim, and if I'm successful, the team's successful, then we can move on and be progressive, because I ultimately want to try and be at the highest possible level.
Because Chris Coleman always said to me, I would never take my hometown club. Too much pressure. But you're relishing it. I'm sure you've known the difference. Have you been recognised at the school gates and stuff like that?
No, I'm quite unsociable probably away from it, so I keep my head down, and I get told that by a couple of parents. They tell my other half, so I can be quite unsociable up there. I just keep putting my hood up and keep walking. So yeah, and out and about, I tend not to go out and about too much anyway. So I keep my head down, and I got my old man to look after if I get into any trouble anyway.
Exactly. And last one, what's been the big difference between being a coach and being a manager, other than, I assume, being called gaffer?
Yeah, you get called that, which is I'm starting to get used to. The biggest difference, well, your head's on the chopping block. So Tony purely said that to me. He said, you're the one who's got to make decisions now. And so did Mick, so did Troll, so did Neil. But I love making decisions, because ultimately, if something goes wrong, it's on me. So I make that quite clear to the players about how we try to play. If something goes wrong when we're trying to play it from the back and we concede, well, that happens. But then I'll take the blame for that. That's on me, you know, and I'll take responsibility. So we try and play a certain way to try and be progressive, but we could boom the ball long and it come back on our back foot and concede a goal as well. So it's the same thing. So because it's seen as being trying to be play out from the back and turn the ball over, well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop it the best as we can.
Ladies and gentlemen, James Rowbury. Right. I'll take my life in my hands now. We've done this before. It seems to work out. All the best, James. And I'm hoping my phone doesn't go off over there, otherwise it'll be a fine for me. So, as I said, it's your chance to ask some questions now. Just put your hand up and I will bring the microphone to you. Just say what your name is and your question. Don't want anything too long, you know. I ask far too long questions, but who wants to be first then? And whatever you do, don't clam up on me, because it only works if somebody's prepared to ask a question or two. Here we go. Right.
Hi, my name's Phil Ashcroft. Welcome to the club, to our manager.
Thank you, Phil.
Great start at the moment. Hope it continues.
At the moment, thank you.
And what I want to ask you is, although you've only just come into the club, a decision was made before you, but what's your opinion on us playing these games like we have the last month on a Tuesday and a Friday? It was a question I was going to ask Gareth anyway, but I might as well get it off your chest. There's a lot of distance, not enough time, and I'm talking as a supporter as well as a player. I go to every game. I think a lot of people know that. I can't go tomorrow. Financially, it's not good. It's too far for me, my health. Well, what's your opinion on asking players to play 3 games in 7 days?
6 days. But what I'll say is that whatever's gone in the past before I can't control. And what it is now, we've just got to try and get on with the situation. It's not ideal. But what my job is and what I'm paid to do is to try and prepare the players as best as we possibly can. What I'll say is now is that me personally, unless it's for TV revenue or unless it's because we have to move the games because of rugby, we won't be playing games on a Friday evening. So it will be as scheduled, as in place, unless it's to do with profit with regards to TV money, which I suppose any football club at this level wouldn't turn down. It's not ideal, but I'll get on with it, the players will get on with it, and we'll have to move forward with it. So apologies that it might not be ideal for people at the minute, but I'll do my utmost to try and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Hi, my name's Andrew. You probably answered a bit of my question really, but one of the things as a supporter is your plan 1, 2, 3, 4. When you get to January is when other clubs pull loan players away, and that, how do you deal with that? Because how much notice do you get? Is that what's included in your 1, 2, 3, 4 plan?
Yeah, so I'm lucky that I've got Darren who keeps in constant dialogue with the 4 clubs that we've got loans from. So I'm lucky that I've got strong connections with Russell at Swansea and his staff, and Mark Allen who did his A licence when I was staffing it with the FAW. So we've got connections there. We've got connections in with Nick Hayward at Aston Villa, who I've known, who I've done courses with previously with regards to Finn. With regards to Jake, built up a strong relationship there with Liverpool and Dave, and then with regards to Fulham and Timmy, we've got the connections there with Hugh, and Darren deals with that. What happens, if I'm being brutally honest, in any loan contract, there's a window where the clubs can recall. That's their prerogative for the loan. So we are, I should never say 100% confident, but I would be very, very disappointed if we lost them in January, with quite simply because of the way we treat them, the way we act with them, the way that we help to try and develop them. So if we do, which I don't think we will, unless if a championship club comes in for them, and then you can't, ultimately if the player wants to go, you can't do anything about that. That's part of progression, that's part of life, and at the end of the day it's somebody's son and child, so you want the best for them, don't you? So on that side of it, so you have to be conscious of that. But when I speak to the lads, that they want to help to try and progress this football club as best we possibly can. So I believe they'll be here unless we decide otherwise. And yeah, I'll have plan A, B, C and D in case that happens, not just for them, but for any position at the football club.
And isn't it fair to say, James, the way you... Oh, yeah, the way... I get everywhere. Yeah. The way you play influences clubs on whether they want to put players out on loan. Increasingly so, isn't it?
Yes, it's a massive influence, because when I spoke to Liverpool with regards to Jake Kane, they said, well, without going into too much detail, they said, we've done our research around you, on myself, with regards to style and my experiences of working with younger players. So they're quite keen on that with regards to my appointment, but also it's keeping those relationships in place for the future as well. So that's vital for us.
Hi James, I'm Anthony Evans. Welcome home, great start. If you don't mind, I'm just going to be greedy and ask a couple of questions. Firstly, what's the difference between coaching championship level players and League 2 players? And secondly, what's the ceiling for this football club? How far can we ultimately go?
Okay, so the first one with regards to championship players and League 2, I was lucky because I've got a very close relationship with Saul Bamber, and Saul came in to watch training during the international break, and he watched it just because he wanted to get a bit of time with me, but also to watch what we do. And he was surprised at the level of quality that we've got at the football club. The biggest difference is probably they get paid, Championship players get paid a lot more money than League Two players. So with that comes a different type of character. So what I find with, and that is no disrespect to the lads that I work with at Cardiff, because to me they were all great lads. What I find here is, and I say it about Scott Bennett, for example, a steeliness to their work, and it's the same for all of them really. When I talk to Robbie, when I talk to Matt, when I talk to Mickey, Joe, Nick, you know, Clarkey, all the lads, the senior lads who have been around it, there's a real honesty and humility to them, and still, my job is to come in and try and develop young players, but it's also develop senior players, because when I go into work every day, I think, well, how can I help you get better? And that might not just be on the field stuff, that might be off the field stuff. So I even do that with Kev. So Kev's in my office today chatting about coaching and managing, and some managers might find that as a threat, but I don't, because I find that as if he wants to speak to me about that, then I take that as a compliment. So that's the first thing that I find a difference. Then the scene in the football club, I don't know. All I've got to try and do is take it game by game and push it as far as I can. I want, what I think supporters will know, and they'll tell from me, is that I want the very best for this football club. And I've got to give that. And there's a real desire and drive, and everything I do, I try to do it for the best. So it's not because I wake up one morning and think, well, I just feel like doing it, but it's because there's a reason behind everything we do. And I'll get questions over my team selection at times, but there's a reason why I do it. So, and it's seen as trying to do the best for the team and the football club. Why, cliches or just dodging the question? Game by game. But yeah, I want to take this club as far as I can. I'd be a fool to say I want to get the club to the Premier League in the next 5 years. I'd be a fool to say that. If I can get this football club promoted, then I would have said I've done my job. But there's a long way to go yet. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to be a short-term thing. It's going to be a long-term thing.
Welcome, James, to the club. On screen, I've just asked a tactical question on football tactics, because I'm puzzled. I think other people might be puzzled. This idea of passing the ball up from the back, which is right throughout the game in the Premiership and everywhere, and then they get caught out, and the keeper makes a mistake. You know, it happens right through the league. You know, I mean, what's the rationale for that? Because for some of us, you know, we think, well, what the hell? Don't I clear the ball, get the ball out?
Possession is 9/10 of the law. So if I got the ball, they can't score. But then I'll make a mistake when I kick it long, you know, and turn it over. And if they got the ball all the time, then they got more chance of scoring. What's important is that if we pass it, we've got to create chances, which, I'll be honest with you, we didn't do Tuesday night, right? And I'll take the blame for that, not the players, you know. But we got to remember, it's the style of play is that we are going to try and take the ball and build. And I talked to the lads about being patient with it at times. You've got to remember, Tuesday's the first night where a team has dropped right off and almost parked the bus. You know, that's what they've done Tuesday. And that's our next challenge, because we've got to take that as a compliment. So I will never equate us to a Premier League team like a Man City or a Chelsea or anyone like that. I won't do that. But what the so-called Leicester teams will see is that if we drop off and let them have it, then, you know, we'll try and deny space. I promised the fans and I promised the board that I would try and play exciting football, right? And sometimes when we keep the ball and pass at the back too much, it might not be seen as exciting, and I get that, and I understand that from a fan's point of view. But there's a reason why, because we're trying to break a team down. I'm not going to be having the players launching it and just trying to play percentage football, because I don't work off that way. So I'll apologise if it can be seen as not trying to be progressive, but there's a reason why we're trying to do it, to try and get ourselves up the pitch with the ball. and to try and create opportunities. You've got to remember, when I came into the football club, I presented to the board about our expected goals. We were 23rd in the league for expected goals when I came in. We're now 4th. So we were averaging less than 12 shots a game. We had 6 against Crawley, but before that we were averaging 14 to 16. So it's one game. So I've got to work on that with the lads. But no, I appreciate your question.
Hi, so it's Elliot here. The players seem to like, as you said, they pass it around the back and then they go, let's go forward. But sometimes they turn back on themselves and they is that through confidence going forward or?
No, so, probably because the spaces are denied in front of them. So what we say to lads is that we've got to try and find. I keep shouting pockets, pockets, pockets. So we try and play between the opposition's lines to get them on the ball. So the likes of Ollie Cooper and Finn Azaz are probably the best two at receiving between lines and turning. So sometimes if that space is denied, and I'm not going to ask them to force it, and they can't force a pass through, then we'll just keep maintaining it to find a way back out to keep the ball. So it's not a confidence thing, because I think the lads are breeding confidence at the minute, because it's 10 points from 15. That's it's averaging 2 points a game, which is winning league form since I came in. So I wouldn't say it was a confidence thing with the lads, Elliot. Thanks for your question, mate.
It's on. Paul Kenwood, season ticket holder. Just a point which you probably can't answer. We discussed that the best teams have the best scorers, obviously. But why wasn't Telford playing sooner? Because all of a sudden he's gone to the top as the best goal scorer in a short period. Why wasn't he played before? I don't, maybe he fell out with Flynn. I don't know. But it's.
Yeah, I think no, it's a valid question. I think that I can't answer what's gone on before. You get different things, but I think that what I've said, that I want my teams to play with 2 strikers, and maybe it helps Dom playing in the front 2. So people say the little and large partnership, don't they, with him and Courtney. And the other night it was Kevin and Dom, because the other night Courtney couldn't play 3 games in 6 days. If Courtney plays 3 games in 6 days, he'd be out for the season because of his injury record. And that's no fault of Courtney, that's because he had a horrific injury not long ago. So it's my duty and my care to make sure, if we're going to play, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but if we have to try and mix a team up sometimes. And some people might not agree with my decisions, which that's football, it's about opinions. But with regards to that, Courtney can't go 3 games in 6 days. He needs to go 2 games or 2.5 games in 6 days to get the best out of him. Because if he doesn't play and he's out for the season, it costs the football club money. That's how I look at it. So I said to Gavin, I said to the chairman of the board, I would treat the club's money as my own, because the football club means a lot to me. So going back to Dom, he's probably working a little bit better for him because he's playing in the front 2, which helps. And then he's just enjoying his football. And that's the thing. And it said to lads, he's got to come to work every day and enjoy himself. So hopefully he is, because I can see it in him. So, yeah, exactly. But thank you.
Hi James, talking about Dom Telford, he could be worth £1 million by the end of the December. The club looking to maybe increase his contract a bit longer.
Yeah, that might be something.
I mean, hopefully.
That might be something.
That might be something to do with you and the board.
Yeah, no. It's well, if he is worth $1 million, let's hope so. I look at Max Waters when he was at Crawley, got sold for $1 million to Cardiff. So, yeah, we'll reward the players accordingly to what they do, which is something that we're conscious of. And yeah, it's the same for any player really at the football club that's doing well.
Is there anybody else? Anybody else? Last question? Oh, yeah. Last
Come
one
on,
then.
Luke, I hope it's an easy question, mate.
I've got to say, before we started, James said to me, what do you think they're going to ask? I said, somebody's bound to ask you about Dom Telford and a contract.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't disappoint.
Hi, James.
Hello, mate.
Yeah, in press conferences, etc., you keep talking about processes and get them right. Do you care to explain what those processes are?
Yeah, so what I mean by that is in regards to... Why is that funny, Chairman? So, first of all, regards to off-field things, so like professionalism, attitude, giving your all. Then with regards to processes on the pitch, so we've set some principles in place, built on the principles from before. So how we try to play, without going into too much detail on that, we set about how we try to attack teams. And I learned this one off trials because Wales did it in the Euros, that Chris Coleman never really talked about winning. When they went to the Euros, they just talked about the process to get the process right. So as far if it's good enough for Wales when they got to the Euro 2016 final, then why can't it be good enough for Newport County? So I can't go into massive amount of detail on the processes because it's being filmed and I don't want too many people knowing what we're doing. But when I talk about that, I talk about the tactics, what we try to do. And it's that we have to keep that going. And I think, well, I know the lads are believing in it. And long may that continue because we have to get it right. So processes can be tactics, processes can be professionalism, processes could be our recovery after games, process could be the set plays, it could be, and also on top of that is the staff. So we've got a job to do in the due diligence to make sure we prepare the best we can for the opposition and for the team. So when I talk about process performance, talk to lads a lot about process performance results. If you get the process performance right, the results will follow. So that's that on that.
And one of the processes you've been involved in is bringing the club together. That's a big part for you.
Yeah, the strapline of one club, one county is something that I see a lot, and I just want to make sure that we live and breathe it, really. I just don't want it to be a strapline. I just don't want it to be a poster sign. I don't want it to be a hashtag. I want it to be something that the football club works together. So that's from the girls in the office with regards to the administration, with regards to Nigel, the board, Gavin, Darren, the community foundation, the academy, the supporters trust, the players, and most importantly the fans, is that I want us all to be on the same page because I've got the football club at heart, and I want every member of staff to have the football club at heart. I want every player to have the football club at heart because if we can do what I want us to do, then it can be something special. So my job is to bring everybody together, and I'm quite passionate about that because when we'll have tough times, so let's not face fact that we might lose 3 or 4 on the spin, but at that point then you can afford to lose 12 games in this division and get promoted. So we can't get 2 down B when we lose. So we've lost 5 games this season so far. One of them has been under me in the league. So I'm going to need everybody's support at some point, as well as everybody will need my support. So I'm very, very keen to keep developing this one club, one county strapline, which is my job to develop, and I promised Gavin and the board that I would do that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I've done... Oh, one more. Right, this is the last one, right? Yeah, okay.
I hope this is a good one.
Yeah.
Not a hard one.
No, you mentioned that you had a meeting with Kevin Ellison. Did you manage to get a word in? and secondly, what is his? I know what his contribution on the club has been. I mean, watching him score against us so many times. But I think he's having an influence off the field. Perhaps you can tell us if that's right.
Yeah, is I kind of, when I first come in, I set up a senior group, which Kev's not in because I see Kev senior to them. So and I class him as kind of he's kind of like a player coach because what Kevin does, he helps with off-field stuff for us. Same with Mark O'Brien, really, with that. He helps develop the younger lads with regards to their technical development. Helps take the development team when we got development games. He's that kind of link between them, which kind of Jared supports and mentors him through, but I do that as well. So it's like today, I've got no problem saying it, is that Kev's currently doing his A licence. I give him my coaching files that I had at Cardiff for him to look at and utilise because I know that he can influence the team in a positive way, both on and off the field, I think he's a terrific human being as well. I think he's a really, really good man who's got really good, strong values. And I think I said to him today, I said, "You sure you want to train today, Kev?" He went, "Age is just a number, Gaffer." So I can't speak highly of him, like a lot of the lads there. They're really, really good group of people.
Ladies and gentlemen, your manager, James Rowbury. I've said it before, it's very few clubs where a manager will step forward and take questions in a forum like this. So I think it says everything about James and the way this club is, I will say. That others have done it before him. He hasn't disappointed us tonight, in my opinion, either. I'm hoping that the team don't disappoint at Colchester tomorrow. If you can't go, I'm going to get a little plug in. I'm going, and it's on the Newport FM in the, FM 95.9, I think it is, in the Newport area. If you're not going to watch it on the club I play, in case the chairman gives me grief. So, and actually, last thing, give us a call on a Saturday night. I look for Newport fans every week, so call Rob 03700 100 110. Cheers.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you both. Really good. Thank you, Rob, as well, for giving us your time. Really appreciate it. We're going to have a 5-10 minute break now, so if you want to grab a drink, please do so, and then we'll come back together around about 8 o'clock, and then Darren, our sporting director, will build on the story that James has just relayed to them. Okay, thank you all. We're going to make a start again, and Sean Johnson, our director, has joined us as well, so welcome to Sean. So, Darren, can I introduce Darren Kelly, who is our sporting director. Darren joined us around about 6 months ago. Yeah. So he's been very instrumental in everything that's going on around the football operations. And what we thought would be really useful today is for him to explain his role, a bit of background about Darren as well, and some of the work that he's been doing since he's come in, and where we're looking to take the club on the footballing side. And it'll build on what James has just said then. So if you could welcome Darren, please. Darren.
Hello everyone. Before we start, just want to say, how proud and privileged I am to be the sporting director at Newport County. I think since I've come in through the doors, the welcome, the support I've got from the board and the supporters has been absolutely fantastic, and the privilege I have to work closely with the board and an absolutely fantastic manager and his staff is absolutely brilliant. Bit about me, as I say, born in Northern Ireland, as you can probably hear by the accent, so if you need subtitles or anything like that, they will appear, So, yeah, born in Northern Ireland, right in the midst of the Troubles, so if anybody's aware. So, a big thing, especially over in Northern Ireland, the big thing is when you're there, it can be difficult for a young lad to sort of make that grade. Now, I had aspirations, as everybody had, in terms of, being a professional footballer. My thing was, I achieved that, played in my hometown club, Derry City, had experiences at Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Carlisle, York City. But the thing about it is, I'm very honest with myself, and I knew my limitations, I knew the abilities I had. And my thing was, even when I was going through to the likes of Liverpool and Nottingham Forest and things like that, you're training with top players, and the abilities that I had, that I wasn't really going to go that far. I wasn't going to go to the Premier League or anything like that. So what I wanted to do then was really stay in the game, was effectively educate myself very early. So the like of the coaching badges and things like that, achieved my UEFA Pro license at 32. I trained, I've done a master's recently at VSA to be a sporting director, trained to be a sports therapist. So many different things that when that day came, that I could stay in football in some department. So effectively then I had my journey planned out and what I wanted to do. I wanted to start at the bottom and work my way up. I wanted to start the academies, which I did. I worked in some of the best academies in Europe. Then I went on to first team management, and that's where really gave me the taste for this role. Academies, I went into the academies, which I'll expand upon in a bit, that were struggling academies that have played a big part in bringing them round and probably turning over young players in excess of about 50-60 million pounds. So then to make that next step into first team management and see the ruthlessness of it that it was at that time, that a couple of bad results and you're out. So And that happened to me in 2015. So at that stage then I thought, right, there's got to be something to support the manager. Because I just found myself, when it came to match days or when it came to training, I was absolutely knackered, physically and mentally, because you're doing everything around the training pitch and match days. And it can absolutely sap the life out of you. So what I'd done effectively, I was sacked in 2015. And with a large portion of my payoff, if you like, I travelled Europe. So I went to see what can the manager get to support what he needs to do and focus on his match day, because it's about results, isn't it? So I went around Europe, went France, Holland, Germany, teams like that, to see how different teams do different methods in regards to developing players, bringing players through, and ultimately gaining success at first team level. So without just going on and on again, you know, that sort of set me on that journey to, I know what I want to do, and then the opportunity came up, and as I say, you know, grasped at the hand, because 7 years I worked extremely hard to get this opportunity, and that's why I'm so excited about what we're going to create and what we're going to do, because I think it's going to be an absolutely great adventure. And as I say, we have an absolutely fantastic manager who's going to help with all that. But as I say, I'll just kick on with things because I'm conscious of times and we have a lot of slides to go on. But yeah, so as I say, just going on the contents and the role and what it actually entails is, you know, again, it can be quite detailed, but I'll try and go through the quicker version if you like. So, yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so as you see with the sporting director, key roles and responsibilities. The big thing is to work closely with the board, and obviously achieve. When I first came in, it was about, when I first came in, there was nothing in place in regards to the footballing side. So we worked closely with the board in regards to putting the vision in place, putting the club philosophy in place, putting the philosophy, a playing philosophy and everything in place, because, you know, clubs need that, good structures and strategies. And I must say, one of the things, you know, that I don't create, that I worked on for a couple of years, is building a performance model that's, you know, it's very unique and nobody else has it, because I developed and created that, and I'll expand upon that in a bit. But it's something that nobody else will have, and it's something that I'll be able to measure against everything and basically achieve the best results in everything we set out to do, which I think is very important. But as I say, you know, we sit with the board and we go through and we agree the philosophies and everything in place, which I'll just expand upon at the minute, just to effectively, you know, achieve success on and off the pitch. And I think especially, you know, since James has come in, we're in the right direction with how we want to achieve that. So the big thing is, again, you look at, you know, the strategies and everything that we're looking to achieve, the evolution of the first team. So effectively we measure everything. So if it's recruitment, working closely with the manager and make sure everything's measured. You know, if it's an age thing, it might be, you know, somebody's stats, it might be in a different league, and a small percentage of opportunities might be, you know, looking at across seas for, you know, potential targets. And again, that'll come into what I'm going to speak about a little bit later. But one of my main things especially is, you have a lot of clubs in this, and I suppose all these leagues, who a lot of recruitment is just done by agents and things like that. I think it's especially in my role that I'll be out and about. I'll go to 5-6 games a week, because what I want to do when I sit down with James is to go through, basically, if he's looking 4 or 5 different, as he spoke about before, 4 or 5 different positions, you know, it's basically to give him the best players at his disposal that I haven't doubt and have seen personally. You know, rather than using the old model at different clubs where they just use an agent. You know, I think it's important that I'm there, I'm the eyes and the ears, and I've seen them, and I want it to be on me. Even though the decision will always be James, I'll be able to give him an input and an insight into each individual player that we put towards him in regards to recruitment. Yeah, we'll just pass on there, Chairman. One of the big things as well, just touching upon that James spoke about before, was, you know, the loan players. You know, we have some fantastic loan players in the building at the minute, and the big thing is, you know, gentlemen, I think it might have been yourself in regards to Finn, and what I do is I speak to the loan managers very regularly. You know, I give them an update on things, as we said, the consistency. James will build them relationships as well, but through that you build trust. And it's amazing, even speaking to one of them, because of how well the young lads are doing, they're actually offering us other players. You know, so when it comes to the like of January, when it comes to the like of the end of the season, they see because they watch us, and trust me, they'll come to the games, they'll do their due diligence, they'll watch us on White Sky or whatever it may be, and they'll see what we're doing and how we're playing. And they like it, they love it, you know, which I think is very important to what we do. Our identity, I think, is the key word behind that. Yeah, just touching on the vision of the football club. You know, again, it's such a big thing in regards to what we want to do and what we want to achieve. We want to be an established football league club, a football league club that works almost bottom up, as I spoke about before, in regards to, you know, the academy. I have such a passion for bringing players through, a great experience through that. And through the vision, the pathway in the first team, we want to make sure that we're able to bring local players through, give them the opportunity to succeed. You know, especially there's nothing better than seeing a young lad coming through, you know, the academy, into the development team, into the first team, which we've created. And again, I'll expand upon that a bit because it's stuff that's very important, especially that weren't there before, that we've got to build on. And effectively for me, it safeguards the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years of the football club, which is very, very important. So again, we just touch upon the club philosophy. You know, you look at when we go out to recruit, especially young local players, and we talk about that pathway in the academy into the development team and into the first team. It's important that, you know, that there's a buy-in to that. You know, and that goes from the academy staff right through to the first team, because it's important that if we're going to bring these young lads through, they're here to stay in the system, and you get a good reputation in the back of that. But it also goes with building, you know, good relationships with, you know, grassroots clubs. So it's not effectively you're going out and taking all the best local players and you're doing it in an underhanded way. It's about building that process and building relationships and building trust to effectively, as I say, get as many young lads as we can onto the football pitch. Yeah. So as James spoke about before, when I first came in, it was about the philosophy and what we wanted to do, what we wanted to achieve, and again, going back to our identity. You know, to play a fast, attractive, attacking football, something that you guys will be proud to come and support, come and watch your team playing. You know, yeah, you can maybe look at it times and it's not lumped long and things like that, but we spoke about before in terms of the process, playing out from the back. You might see it go back and forth a few times, but again, it's, you know, it's a process. It's very important, especially the philosophy and how we want to play. You know, but again, there's a method to it, and that's to create the best opportunities to score, which I think is very important. As I speak about the academy, the big thing within the academy, again, which is very important, especially to the football club, is to bring them players through. We talk about the EPPP process. You know, within the football club, there's EPPP, which, if anybody doesn't know, it's called the Elite Player Performance Plan. And what that effectively does is led by the Premier League to, you know, for the long-term strategy for teams to develop their own players locally, which again I think is very important for the football club, especially that sustainability point. Yeah, so again we talk about the academy recruitment, as I spoke about, you know, getting out, supporting local teams, you know, again working closely with them, bringing the coaches, again giving coaches opportunities, working closely with them to see the young players coming through and helping the recruitment process into the academy. Yeah. The development team, one of the things I come in again was, you know, the important thing was you know, you have an academy, then it goes to the first team. What we didn't have was anything in the middle. So what we wanted to do was develop in the development team. You know, so something that, if you have the aspiring young academy players, when they're going 16, 17, whatever it may be, there's got to be that next step for them. They might not get an opportunity in the first team, so what we have to do is we have to bridge that gap. So the best way to bridge that is put a development team in there. So what we'll effectively do then is we'll bring players through so that when they come through the academy, they might be in training with the first team, but then they'll go into the development team, play the development games against top local opposition. So it could be your Cardiffs, it could be your Swansea, it could be your Bristol Cities and teams like that. So it'll give them that platform. And what it'll effectively do then is make them ready and give them that opportunity should they make it into the first team, which again I think is very important. Yep, next one please, Chairman. As we spoke about, so as you see with the manager already this season, like the Papa Johns and things like that, he's given great opportunity to a lot of, you look at the like Harry Brighton players like that within the academy, they've been given great opportunity, which again is something to build on. So now we've got that opportunity with the like of the Papa Johns, where they'll be given opportunity, but also they'll have, development games against, as I say, the like of your Cardiff Cities and that, which I think is very important. This, again, I think is the exciting bit in terms of the performance model that we've created. I look at, when I come into the football club and the vision that I'd set, given an opportunity to do this, I wanted to really go with something that was unique, something that no other football club had. And I think in terms of creating this, you'll see what it's about. As you can see, you can't see names or teams or anything like that, but what you have is a player database that gives you all the data into every player. It gives you everything you need to know about that player, what team they were at, their age, their statistics. As you can see here, 2,000 plus players. But this is all over Europe. I spoke before about having players, even sounding boards in Europe, players that you've watched, players you've seen maybe in tournaments, competitions and things like that. Because the big thing is when we sit down with James and we go through, should it be January, for example, what we want to do is put in front of him, the best opportunity, the best players in each position, which I think will be important to, but these players also fit into the club philosophy. So if we're playing a 3-5-2, for example, they'll be able to, if it's the left centre back, what we'll do, we'll provide 4 or 5 centre backs that are going to enhance the team and the abilities, and especially that fits into our philosophy, which is obviously very important. But the stats into that, again, I think are very important, which are going to measure exactly what we're looking for and what input they're going to have into the team. You look again, we spoke about, the players in terms of the in-depth side of it. I do this here, and again, it's quite after each game, on a Monday morning, it's what I call effectively an admin morning, because what you'll do is you'll put in stats from the previous Saturday. So a couple of days previous, obviously, we'll put them in, we'll measure them. Could be certain players setting up certain goals. It could be even mistakes of leading to goals. And it's all measured, and it effectively gives you a calculation that I think is very important. So when it sits down with, the manager to go through recruitment and retention and all that type of thing, it's important then that you're able to see what's where and measure everything. So if, for example, you might have somebody that gets 7 every week, and it's quite an easy decision. But there might be people who you're unsure of what input can they have. So they might get a lower mark, and it might be that, it makes a decision for the manager, because there's some decisions that you're always going to come across that might be difficult to make. So these type of statistics and this type of platform, I think is very important, and it also links into the youth team. So what you effectively have with the youth team, we also go to the youth team games, and I'll liaise with the youth team coach in regards to the stats and everything in their games from the input side of it. So when it comes to the retention of them, in terms of getting the first year pro, it's sitting down with them to sort of measure it and what they see. So if it's offering 2, 3, 4 young YTs professional contracts, it's there and it's obvious to see. But you might have somebody's stats that's better than somebody that's got a pro, but yet they haven't been offered one. So it's just, again, what I've produced here gives you a clear indication of the processes behind it and the importance of it, so to make sure there's a good consistency. And it's stuff that I can sit down and almost have a discussion with the coaches to see, right, okay, how does that work and how does that work? And then we discuss it, because at the end of the day, what we don't want to do is we don't want to make mistakes. Especially as I spoke about, from bottom up, we want to make sure that the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, are going to be great, they're going to be successful. There's going to be a lot of hard work in there, but it's going to be a journey that we're all really looking forward to, that's going to be important. And I have no doubt, in terms of the performance model that we've created, it's definitely something that's going to help that process. Yep, so just getting into the first team. Yep, thank you, Chairman. This, as I spoke about, when I first came in, There was no scouts, nothing at all. So it was one of those where we needed to create things. We needed to have scouts on the board. So what I effectively wanted to do was nationally, I wanted scouts from here to Glasgow. You know, people that we could have on the ground. And it's quite easy in that regard, because as you can see here, we've got, you know, 25 scouts, and it's actually rising. We've actually got them in Ireland. I think it was last week we actually got one in Ireland as well, one that, you know, again is very important, and there's information coming in, and what we have is effectively, you know, all these scouts out at regular games. I manage all that as well. They let me know what games they want to go to. I effectively email the clubs to say, look, we're looking for Joe Bloggs to go to this game, can you give us a ticket, blah blah, and then all information will come back in regards to any player that have been spotted. A couple of times, even as recent as last week, that, you know, got a player, a scout that phoned me, said, you want to go and watch this player? I've even had a manager also say the same thing, I want you to come and watch this player, you need to come and watch him soon. So I went, and Sunday went and watched him, and, you know, again, this type of thing then adds to the player database, because what we don't want to do is, you know, have a database of players that is just there for the sake of it. We want really good, strong quality, that especially when it comes to recruitment, you know, it's players that we're looking to bring in that are going to take us forward. As you can see there, it just gives you an idea of everything that goes in to the performance model. It shows all the scouts who are covering what games, the games that they're going to, the detail obviously that we're looking to get from that. And then what we have then for the manager as well is the opposition manager, you know, the opposition scouting, which obviously, you know, you look at the game tomorrow night against Colchester, the manager will have, you know, a scouting report on them. You know, there's obviously the like your platforms like a Y Scout and things like that, which are very important. But, you know, these type of detailed things I think are very important in terms of the magnitude of the detail, the little percentages that the manager needs to know in regards to the opposition tomorrow night, stuff that are very important. So again, this all goes into our performance model. And then these are key, you know, like a Y Scout, huddle, sports code, you know, so it just again shows you the work that goes on behind the scenes in regards to the staff, the work they put in. They work obviously closely with the like a Y Scout, but it gives two views when it comes to watching games. It gives a subjective and an objective, so that you'll have the analysis, the first team staff doing games and, you know, watching it, watching clips, watching videos. But then the other side then is myself, as I say, I'll be out of 5-6 games, but we've also got the other scouts up and down the country out at them as well. And so we're constantly on the pulse with it. And on the back of that, as I say, I believe with what we've created, what we're doing, what we've done, and I think it's going to be a really good journey going forward, and something that we're all hoping that everybody's really excited about. All right, thank you very much for that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Thanks very much. I hope that gave everybody a bit of background to almost the infrastructure that we're now putting in place behind the scenes that then supports James and the first team, but also around the club. You know, it's a key part of the strategy and the football operation of what we're trying to do. If I can ask Nigel, where are you? There you are. Yeah, he needs a cheer on. Well done. Yeah, well done. Well done. Nigel Stevenson, our general manager. Turn this way to face the crowd, Nigel. That's what I need you to do. And I will operate your buttons as always, okay?
Yeah, that's it. Evening, everyone. Thank you. Well, you've heard all the exciting bit about how well things are going football-wise. Well, I'm pleased to say generally the club is also in a robust, healthy state in most other areas. Just to give you an idea, that is the current organisational structure around the administration of the football club. From myself, with the media team, safeguarding, commercial, club secretary, and the ticketing and admin support. So that makes up what we do as a club. And it's a busy time for everyone, but they all like it, and they particularly like it when the results on the pitch match up with that, because it makes it all feel very worthwhile, and that's the good news about everything. If we start with the commercial side of things, I don't intend to read it line by line because otherwise we'll be here all night and the chairman will only shout at me, which he does regularly anyway. But ultimately, there's been a strategy to develop the commercial side of things. It's been driven by trying to take the local businesses along with us and say that, you know, we will promote your companies using the social media channels and areas of that nature in return for the sponsorship you give to the football club. And that's really proved a very valuable thing for our sponsors over this recent time, coming on the back of the importance of getting things right post-COVID or post-COVID restrictions. I know we're not post-COVID, but we certainly the restrictions that were in place last season, we've moved away from that. And you can see some impressive growths. The revenue, as you can see, we're looking to increase that by up to 30% from last season, and that doesn't include hospitality revenue, which again, we've been able to benefit from this season, having had a sort of zero situation last season. We've got a lot of local businesses now supporting. Most of our sponsorship is on a local level, which is real for them, and they see the return on that. And we're trying to add new items of commercial inventory all the time with regard to training kit sponsorship, etc., and lineup sponsors, etc. In addition, obviously, we still do the usual things around player and match ball sponsorship, which again has grown quite considerably this season. And we've been able to get back to where we wanted to be with commercial revenue. But we still see plenty of scope to improve that, and that's the next stage, obviously, to take it on, but from where we were. Moving on, we're now talking about ticketing, which again is a whole different ballgame this season to the rather strange season we dealt with last year. It was really pleasing to see that our season ticket sales for this season are just over 2,000, which is actually the highest ever number we've had for season ticket sales. And we're just in the next few days going to launch the half season ticket, which is something that we always do around the Christmas time, and it proves quite popular for sort of family Christmas presents. It gives them the opportunity to see 12 games from the beginning of January, and that adds to the growth of that. One thing that we've actually noticed is the continuing growth of online sales. It's funny, we've not that many years ago, almost every ticket we sold for an away match would be sold in person at the ticket office here or in town or whatever. The recent Bristol Rovers game, where we had a very successful advanced ticket sales, 60% of those were ordered online and sent out to people. So people are changing the way they do these things, and I see that as being part of a growing thing going forward. There is an increased use of e-tickets, which I think people will get used to and they will use, and what it does do is take away a queue on match days. You know, you're coming from home, you've got your e-ticket on your telephone, straight into the ground, you're not queuing to buy a ticket. And that change has been quite significant in recent months. Our current ticketing system, the contract for that runs out at the end of the end of this season, and we're currently going through a process of reviewing alternate providers. Undoubtedly, there have been some challenges with the existing system, and there are better options out there, and I think people will see the benefit of that in season 22-23. We're looking to have that in place ready for sort of April time, so we can look to do season ticket sales for next season through that new system. Media-wise, we have a brand new media officer on board, who's currently there, stood in the middle of the room, doing a video streaming of tonight's meeting. Again, he's working hard in developing the social media side, improving the website side of things. From the 1st of January this year, we launched our online match day program, which is actually using a QR code, is accessible free of charge for every home game. It's actually has a significant number of extra pages to the printed version. So it's, and as I say, it's free and available for every game. And we're looking to continue using the commercial side of things, promoting the commercial side of things on the website. One thing that we would like to develop as we go through it is an official club podcast. There are some podcasts out there, but we would like to get one that's, it's difficult to use unofficial ones because you have the content of it, you're very wary of how it may be used, but if we can get an official one up and running, which is certainly a target to do before the end of this season. And on the bottom there is reference to the what James talked about, the one club, one county thing, which is a very important part of the club strategy, to pull everybody in together and to keep developing that. And I think that will be for the long-term benefit of the club, certainly. He's quick with those slide changes, isn't he? Don't want to go into too much detail around the finance other to say that it's in very good health. For us, we've presented audited accounts for the previous 3 years, showing a profit in each of those years, which I think for a League 2 football club would be very, very unusual. And we also know that because of the work we did last season in using the various incentives and furloughing where appropriate, etc., that the latest accounts, which will be audited in December, will also show a profit. So that is, I think, it's testament to everything that has been done around the club and the work the board have done. Obviously, we've had windfalls around FA Cup runs and things like that in that period, but the strategy to not let that money be eroded has proved to have a real benefit. And going into the COVID shutdown, in the financial state that we were, was a real positive, because there were clubs going into it with no money in the bank, and they found it extremely difficult, to say the least. So, and in terms of focus, we just intend to continue with that, maintain the budget control, which it's good to hear James say that he thinks of the club's money like he thinks of his own. So I'm hoping he means that. Yeah. I spoke to his wife, he spends money all the bloody time. I mean, I'm not sure it helps, but there we are. And obviously the other thing that we're very keen to do is to make sure that we comply with all of the EFL rules, HMRC, etc., because we are in a strong enough position not to create any issues for ourselves with these things, and we certainly won't do so. That's me done.
So Kelly, thank you very much. Nice, thank you very much. Kelly Anderson is our head of safeguarding. You probably know that she was previously on the board. She's got a real passion about her subject, and certainly as a board, we can't speak highly enough of the job that she's done in this area. It's a really difficult area, and as you will probably know, just in society in general, indeed with other clubs, you know, some clubs have got into difficulty in this area, but the job that Kelly's done keeps us on the straight and narrow. The engagement she does right the way through the club, from the academy with the under-9s right the way through to us as a board, is first class, and she'll share some of that with you tonight.
Thank you, and hello everyone, nice to see you all. Gavin's already introduced me, so I don't need to do that, which is great. I'd like to also continue on the one club, one county ethos, because, you know, Gavin will tell you all the time, I keep banging on that safeguarding is everyone's responsibility, it's not just mine. So, you know, and it's really great to see how the club totally engaged with that right across the board, as Gav said, you know, right from top level at board level, right the way through the club, down into our academies, through our players, through our parents, you know, those supporters of the children in the academy, and everybody here at the club. So it's really important that we carry on in that, and that actually includes all of our supporters too. And I guess it's really important for me to ask you tonight that if you do see anything that's happening out there in the club at all, then please do report it. It's really important that you're upstanders and actually report that into us here so that we can take appropriate action and nip things in the bud really quickly before they escalate any further. So as you would have seen on the weekend at the Swindon game, you may have seen this up on our scoreboard, you may have seen it in our programme, and this is actually an FA-led national campaign called Play Safe, and that is to raise awareness of safeguarding in football and to raise awareness of how important it is in football. So I will always say that it has to remain proportionate, and also, but it's really, really important that it is there for obvious reasons. So many of you may have actually seen Football's Darkest Secrets, which was a BBC documentary, and that was about some of the horrific abuse that happened in football, specifically between the time of 1970 and 2005. And that was an FA-led inquiry then by QC Clive Sheldon. And the Play Safe campaign was actually part of one of the recommendations. So I'm not going to go through all of that for you, but it is there if you'd like to do it, have a look. And you'll also find more information about the Sheldon report online through the FA. Now, what happened was that this report was actually 710 pages long. And from the time that Andy Woodward very bravely came forward and shared his story in The Guardian in November 2016, Operation Hydrant started, and that was in partnership with the NSPCC, who opened up dedicated lines to take phone calls from people who wanted to report an instance of abuse. And that abuse was really varied, but some of it did unfortunately relate to child sexual abuse as well. And in that time, up until August 2020, we actually had 692 survivors of abuse and over 240 suspects, and that was over 80 clubs, and the majority of those were either professional clubs or what were deemed to be feeder clubs. So they're actually these grassroots clubs or some academies that actually fed into those pro clubs, and scouts and coaches and other people within football. It wasn't just limited to those individuals who had actually taken abuse of these children by actually promising their families the world, offering gifts as a way of grooming these children and gaining their trust to actually take advantage of them. And this is what actually happened. So obviously we've learned massive lessons from that inquiry itself, and which have come up as a series of 13 recommendations here. And we, as the FA and the EFL have all agreed to these recommendations, and it's very important that we do. But we've actually agreed them as a board here and as a club as well. And it is absolutely vital that we have our moral duty and responsibility to keep all of our young people safe in the game and all of our adults at risk, as well as we understand there are a lot of vulnerable people within our support groups as well. So with that in mind then, we've obviously made sure that that's totally embedded in our club, and it completely runs through the DNA in everything that we do. And we may stay very quiet on it sometimes, but we're peddling away behind the scenes to make sure that everybody is able to enjoy it and feel free from harm or abuse within the game that we all love. So, next slide please. So, as you can see up in the top right hand corner, it talks about the EFL standards up there. We are really heavily audited and regulated, and even just on an annual basis, we have a PJAC audit, a Safe to Operate, health and safety, and every 2 years we have Bernardo's come in as well, and they will go through safeguarding with a fine-tooth comb. So we really have to make sure that we're on our A game, and that's really important, obviously, because of the risk that is involved in safeguarding. So as Gav alluded to, it's not the nicest of subjects sometimes, but we do also have some real great stories from individuals as well, where we've worked with them with well-being, and being able to see the difference with them as well. So the standard itself obviously makes sure that we hit on leadership, governance and culture. So I just make sure there's an absolute board level responsibility, and there's commitment from the board right the way through the club. Standard 2 will look at our roles and responsibilities, so this will cover everything from safer recruitment, and make sure that we've got our really stringent checks in place, and also make sure that those people who are working within our club absolutely know what their responsibility is with safeguarding in the role that they do. Standard 3 then will look at prevention policies, procedure and practice. That's a bit of a mouthful, but we got there. And basically, that's to make sure that it's all right for us to have our policies, but it's to make sure that they work in practice, to make sure that they are actually being used, and that they, everyone is following the steps that are needed to be taken. But those policies, if you ever want to have a look, then they are actually available on our Newport County website, and you're very welcome to go and look on there. And also there are contact details on there for safeguarding leads like myself, throughout the academy, the first team environment, and also through the EFL, NSPCC and other organisations that we work closely with as well. The educating and empowering, now this is quite a big one, because we obviously have to educate everybody in regards to what safeguarding is sometimes, and remind them of the importance of it, but also it's about making sure that those young people are really empowered to speak up about anything that's happening to them, and to make sure that they have trusted adults in their environment that they can come and talk to. And it's about making sure that everybody is educated, and with that, you know, even next week we've got Paul Stewart coming into our academy to come and talk to our scholars in regards to his own experiences and about safeguarding as a modern day footballer and how they can protect themselves. So it's great to be able to have a survivor of abuse who was obviously detailed in the Sheldon report and as part of football's darkest secrets, to come and share his own experiences and to make sure that we can help and support to protect our young people from his own experiences. The protection is, I've already basically covered. It is what it is child protection, you know, and ideally with safeguarding is preventative measures, but sometimes, you know, there will be an element of child protection in place, and in that we have to work with external stakeholders and partnerships. So we're looking at perhaps sometimes we may have to refer something to children or adult services, the police, the local authority designated officer, EFL, FA, FAW, and we do work really closely. We have regular meetings, we share best practice amongst us, and we do work together as clubs within the league as well to make sure that we're connected. And sometimes that is about sharing information about young people as well who are transferring through academy to academy or club to club, to make sure that that information does go ahead to make sure that protection of that young person can continue. And I'm sure you'll agree that is absolutely for necessary reasons, and we wouldn't share that information if we didn't feel it was absolutely relevant and important to protect the young person. Working together, I've just covered there, and it's about the listening culture. So it is about us making sure that young people and everybody really in the club feels like they're empowered to be heard, especially with young people's voices. You know, they participate in feeding back to me about our policies and procedures. It's about making sure that they're included in our strategy, and how they want to report things and how they want to see things, and make sure that the training is coming through. We've put up here now in regards to some of the partnerships that we have. So some of them are club partners like Mind, My Discombobulated Brain, Kidscape and Beyond the White Line. Beyond the White Line is a brand new one for us. We launched that a couple of months ago. And what I really like about Beyond the White Line is this one's actually targeted at our staff and players. So whereas there's lots of mental health wellbeing support out there, this is actually an NHS approved app that all of our staff and players will have access to as we start to roll this out over the season, and they take a very human first approach. Because what we're trying to develop as well in the academies is not just young footballers, but we're also trying to develop people. And we want them to make sure that, you know, they are well-rounded people who are fully supported on and off the pitch. You know, they can come and talk to us about absolutely anything, whether it's something going on at home, something going on in school, and we will absolutely back them and give them all the help and support that we can. And sometimes we don't have all the answers, and that's fine, but we can then signpost into some of those other agencies that are there, and charities such as the Mix, which is for 25s, Young Minds we've shared only this week with our 15s and 16s group, who is taking mock examinations this week, you know, because there's some great exam stress buster information on there as well, which is really important. So with Beyond the White Line, the NHS approved app, it gives access to CBT information, help with muscle fatigue, sleep. It goes on to equality, diversity and inclusion, and it also goes on to financial well-being, to name a few. But with the app, there's also an opportunity on there that if you're in crisis, if you're feeling really low, you can actually just hit a chat button and be connected to a therapist within 10 minutes. And that's the SLA that's there. Because we appreciate that for everybody, you know, you don't necessarily want to be able to go to see a doctor. You may not have the opportunity to get there because of work commitments or anything else. But it's also, you know, really, really important that you could possibly sit on the bench, just texting, look like you're texting somebody. But with that therapist information, then that would actually be forwarded on to a health professional who can then go on and provide one-to-one support for you as well. But lots of these agencies on here now, like Cruise Bereavement, obviously the pandemic did mean that lots of people lost loved ones, and that was really heartbreaking to hear. But we've been able to do this as well for all of our supporters. So anybody who's reached out and come forward to us, then we have been able to either support ourselves or direct straight onto one of these charities that are absolutely superb in what they do. Myself, it's actually brilliant just to see from a wellbeing perspective that I've now this season started to work on one-to-ones with our young players in the academy, and this could be anything around resilience, confidence, assertiveness on the pitch. I'm no expert, but I am a good listening ear, and we've helped to point them in the right direction, and just know that they can offload to us and know that we are trusted. And it's been lovely this week alone just to see a young player completely turn around who was struggling a little bit on and off the pitch, and to see his confidence build now is absolute reward for me. I love what I do. It's not the nicest subject to deal with, but I'm really passionate about it. And if I can be that person that I needed when I was younger, then it'd be totally worth it. And I look forward to seeing what the future looks like. But please, all I can say is, if you do see something, and please bear in mind that abuse takes many forms. It could be something that's being shouted from the terraces. It could be something as extreme as abuse, in terms of child abuse, like we just mentioned with the Sheldon report. Then please, please, please do make sure that you are reporting it in, even if it's just a suspicion or a rumour. And some of those within the Sheldon report, there were strong suspicions and strong rumours. And if you think that those could have been addressed in the beginning, then those survivors would not have struggled with the absolutely devastating impact that it's now had on their lives going forward. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Kel. Thank you. Thank you very much. We wanted Kelly to speak tonight. As you can see, she speaks with absolute passion and from the heart. But I think also it illustrates that, you know, whilst we've got all the football inside and what James and all the players and Darren does on the Saturday and so on and so forth, you know, when you run a club like this, things like what Kelly does are absolutely key and critical to, you know, the safeguarding of all those kids who are coming through the academy, the well-being of the players and staff and so on and so forth. So we wanted to share that with people tonight so they understood, you know, sometimes it's not just what goes on the pitch, it's what goes on behind, and really picking up James' point from earlier on about that one club, one county, how we bring that all together. Joe, I'm afraid you've got 10 minutes, mate, and I know you're going to smash it. But Joe Crocker, everybody, who's our trust director. Joe's going to give us a canter through the trust side of life. As you probably know, Joe is a new director. He's done a fantastic job since he's come in. Those of you who go in the marquee on a Saturday will see Joe in and around with all the hard work, and he drags in every member of his family, actually, so it's great to see as well.
Thanks very much. I feel like the headline act, but I promise I won't sing, okay? I'm not that Joe Cocker. If anybody wants this picture for the lottery numbers tomorrow, give me a shout afterwards. There we go. Really important. Yeah, it's your trust, it's your club. This is what we're all about. So on the next slide there, we've got the membership levels. I was asked to come in about April time, just to look at the different, what we could do to improve membership levels. And you can see, April 21, 841 members. It might look low, but if you remember, that was right in the middle of the lockdown as well. There was no tangible benefits for being a member. Since then, we did have a good day out at Wembley, not as good as it should have been, but we had a good day out at Wembley. And as of this month, the figures have gone right up to 1102. The good thing is, yeah, when we had the Wembley visit, the numbers did rocket right up, but they've stayed at that level. These levels have not gone up and down, you know, all over since that Wembley visit, so that's really important. 261 members since April this year, and that's generating an extra £1,918, and that means that we can now send a club over £7,500 per calendar month. What I'm going to ask is, of course, you can do your bit. If you're not a member, you could join up. Please think about it. If you are a member, why not think about joining up someone like your local pub, your local shop, something like that, your cafe, or even try and look at different corporate members as well. That's another thing that we could really look for to get more members. Okay, from the figure on the previous page, you can see we're presently donating over £100,000 to the club per season. And that's with just over 1,000 members. When you think of the average crowds, 3,500, we've got 2,000 season tickets, as Nigel mentioned earlier on. That's brilliant. I do appreciate that most people, if they've got a season ticket, may be a trust member. If you've not got a season ticket, you're still coming in, you may be a trust member. But imagine what we can actually give to the club if we increased our membership to 2,000 members, or even 3,000 members. Maybe 3,000 members, we could be sending the club £250,000 a season. What impact would that make? Brilliant impact on the club. Okay. So what we've done, we have listened, and we continue to listen to all the membership. We shared the results of the survey in our newsletter, but overall, members' main reason for joining the trust is to help and support the club. A couple of figures for you. 83% of members responded they thought that the trust membership offers value for money. A massive 98% of members responded thought that the trust financial support of the club provides value for their membership. And 81% of members responded saying they were satisfied with the communication they received from the trust. We're proactively reminding members of the benefits of more individual communications to members via emails. And we're also listening to members' hospitality events that we're running, and match days with a table in the marquee as well. So if you ever need to ask us a question about your trust membership, every game we're we've got table in the marquee as well. Okay. You can all see on your chairs you've got a copy of the leaflet as well. But some of the things that we did last season, we were really aware that with the lockdown and with the restrictions that we couldn't offer everything that we said we were going to do. So, you know, it's a real big thank you from all of us. We've not only kept members in, but we've increased it, so thanks again. But what we did last year, we did some draws for signed shirts, and that was for all levels. So we did one for bronze, silver, gold and platinum to make sure that everybody had that opportunity to win a shirt as well. We're going to carry on with that this year as well. Even though it's not advertised yet, we're going to still carry on. So everybody, you know, you're still in with a chance of winning a signed shirt. Gold and platinum members have also been offered their hospitality experiences, and they also get the golden ticket draws, which is a chance to travel with the directors away at one of the away fixtures there in the hospitality boxes away. We've also improved our social media presence on our website, Facebook and Twitter with a couple of campaigns based about members sharing their thoughts on why they're trust members. I don't know if everybody has seen any of these on Twitter or Facebook as well. Really, really positive. You know, getting people to say why they are a trust member is huge for us. And hopefully, you know, that's where a lot of people have joined the trust again, because they've seen other people. We've also looked at things of why I should join the trust as well. So there's a few of those going out and have been out. If you don't know where they are, please take a look on the website as well. You'll find them on there. And fingers crossed, hopefully, as you've seen from the comparison figures earlier on, it has increased. So fingers crossed, you know, we're getting our point over. We're always looking for new ideas on how to improve our social media presence as well. So if anybody's got any skills or any ideas, please let me know as well. Some other things we've done, our junior membership, really successful start to the membership this season with over 100 members. For only £15 per season, our junior members are getting a great package, which includes up to 4 free games where an accompanied adult only pays £10. So you can see on there we've got Port Vale, Harrogate, Oldham and Crawley for our home games chosen this year. It's really good that we've got some sponsors and partners, and we've had some exciting pre-match warm-ups in the marquee thanks to Newport City Radio as well. This is me asking again, perhaps, you know, you've got a child, grandchild, niece, nephew, friend, cousin of Teen Exiles or Club Spitty 8, get them in for a Christmas present, why not? £15, there you go, they get 4 free games a season. Okay. Community. We believe in local issues and support local charities as well as many initiatives which have their beginnings with Newport County AFC. All our home fixtures this season have an allocated team of the day that our brilliant partners at County and the Community look after on match days. It's been, you know, I'm sure everyone will agree, it's been great to see the kids back on Rodney Parade, just down there waving their flags, cheering the team on. It really makes a difference, and hopefully for James and the team, you know, it makes a difference for them as well. We also have Charity of the Day. You've probably seen those scattered around. We tend not to do as many bucket collections as we've done before, but we've got all the charities in the tents as well. They come down, and we also support the FA and EFL initiatives such as Play Safe, as Kelly mentioned earlier on. We've got the Pride game coming up soon. We've got Her Game 2 game coming up in the new year as well. We support Newport veterans, Kidscape, and as you've seen from last week's game, the Rhys Jones Memorial fixture as well, which we advertised and gave some support to as well. And we've also got a nice picture there from Exiles Together, which had a visit down here this week, and they are from Bradford as well. We can't do it all by ourselves, so if anybody wants to help out, we've got plenty of volunteering opportunities, 50-50 draws, selling programs, in here on hospitality, Disabled Sports Association, helping out in the marquee, and other general support as well. So if you are interested, or you know anybody that could be interested in volunteering for us, please do drop an email down to the office at newport-county.co.uk. Yeah, I've got my laptop with me, so if anybody can't wait to join up, they can come and see me straight afterwards, and I can get you joined up straight away.
You won't get out the door unless you have, and if you are a member, you need to show your card to tell him already.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Joe. Thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you for that. I'm conscious of time, and we're nearly at the. Sorry, go on.
I want to say thanks to Joe for putting the Lifeline on Facebook. And we had a good conversation with Joe over the Lifeline. I don't know how important the Lifeline is to the club, the lottery, but we had a good conversation, and we were able to tell Joe that the most of the people that have been involved in that are getting on in years, and it won't, unless this fresh blood comes in and gives us a kick up the backside, your lottery tote is going to be running down. I mean, I don't know how the club see it. I know Joe's just done a presentation. The lottery wasn't mentioned on there, but he has done a good job with the Facebook. It's something the club got to think about. How important is it to the club? Because most of the people that run the lottery now are getting on. And
No, I understand that.
It's
Well,
coming to an end.
well, firstly, can we just say thank you very much for all the work that you, Ron, and others do. It is really important to the club. Nigel will tell you if he shared the lines that we've got within the budget. There is a line in the budget that comes in from that donation. It is really important to us. And Joe would share the output from his meeting with you and what he's done as well. And what we do need to do is to follow that up with you guys to make sure that it does grow and it also continues to do what it's done over many, many years, because it is very valuable to us, and we will, committed to do that and build on the work that Joe has done. But thank you very much for the work that you've done with that. It is important to the club.
There are forms on the table at the back of the county lottery as well if you're going out.
Thanks, Joe. So we've got to that point of the evening whereby we're going to open the floor up to questions. We've probably got about 5 or 10 minutes, and conscious of time. Before I do, I just wanted to mention as well, otherwise David won't forgive me, that we've got the carol concert that's at St John's Church on Monday the 13th of December. It's 7 o'clock start. The club will be there, representatives of the club will be there, players, staff, manager will be there, we will be there as a board as well. So if people want to attend, please do come along and support that with David and indeed Keith, the chaplain of the club as well. So Sean and I are going to come and do a bit of a roaming thing between us now, but yep, that'll be helpful. So hands up for any questions. I'll come over there. Okay, thank you.
The Swindon gate, you couldn't sell tickets on the day to come in. You kept the fans segregated, but behind me there was trouble with a box for Swindon fans. This is not the first time. We had it with West Ham as well. Are we going to be doing something similar with Bristol Rovers in March? Inviting a problem with the hospitality?
Well, firstly, and I will do this, I think from the club we need to apologise for the behaviour that happened behind folk in those boxes. We're obviously aware of it. We've had feedback in many different channels. We've asked Kelly to pick it up and ask why it occurred. and what lessons that we can learn from it. I mean, essentially, our policy is quite clear in the fact that we shouldn't be selling boxes to away supporters on those kind of games, if any games. Kelly is going to produce a report for us on that so that we can put in place and strengthen the processes that we got today. But I think it's important for us to recognise that we got that wrong, and we apologise to those that were affected and impacted by that on that day. And we will ensure there isn't a repeat of it, especially for games like Bristol Rovers. So apologies for that. Anybody else got any? Okay, mate. Oh, Sean's going. Yeah, thank you, mate.
If it's too difficult, I'll let you answer.
So in terms of the matchday experience, kind of in general, but more specifically for season ticket holders in the 100 Club, so I don't know how much you're aware about what's happened this season, but we've had the balcony put in front of the 100 Club. There's not a door for us to access the stand from where we did it before, and all of the benefits that we had, other than having the bar, have been stripped, but we're paying the same price for our season tickets.
So, if I take the balcony first thing, obviously, Rodney Parade have made some changes, and actually probably for the boxes, for the better, and the box holders now are paying 10% more than what they were previous season. I think that we recognise that certainly within the 100 Club, that door that they used to have to go down now is a different experience in terms of that. And I think what we will need to do for next season is have a look at that and get some feedback from you guys in that area. In terms of the other benefits, and I think this is probably us not promoting it as much. I think it was Nigel who mentioned earlier on about the QR codes. So because we've made a decision generally around the programs to move from hard copy in essence to online for green reasons and also commercial reasons, I don't think what we've done enough of, although we've tried to improve it last Saturday, I believe, is to get all the QR codes that are in there, because that benefit still exists in terms of that. It's an online program though, as opposed to a physical program. And the reason for that is that commercially, the program to a certain extent doesn't stack up commercially to do it, and therefore we end up in essence spending more money than we should do and not getting that return on it. And the club can't sustain something like that, and our approach is very consistent in that, which is why it is an online program now. I'm not sure or aware of other things that you're not quite getting, but what we are happy to do, we can have a chat with you after and you can feed them back to us, because we need that feedback. If we don't have that feedback, we can't make those changes, so we really welcome that. Thank you. I'm conscious of your age, Sean. Do you want me to do it, mate? Oh, good. Okay. There, I was right what I said then.
Just a point about the tea and coffee arrangements and the burgers and that. There's been lots of long queues. I know a lot of people have been very frustrated. They go out at half time to get a cup of coffee, and they either have to leave and go back to watch the game, or they miss 10 minutes of the game or something. It does seem to be getting more of a problem, but particularly with big crowds. Last Saturday, we queued for about 10 minutes, and then we just gave up and went back and sat down. So, is there anything that we've done about that?
Nigel can answer that.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I wasn't aware that had developed into an issue. Those facilities are provided through the stadium here, but I will certainly take that up with them. They make a contribution to the football club from what they take in those bars, but
we get a big crowd.
yeah, well, they have to. I think we will ask them to address that and think in terms of the staffing levels they have, dependent on the size of the crowd, because
It's not staffing level, it's just that we've got one facility.
okay, so it's not enough facility. Yeah.
Nigel, what do we again? What we'll do is
I'll take it up with Rodney Parade.
If we can just have a quick chat with you,
Yeah,
give
I
us the
will do
feedback
it.
after it. And again, we really welcome it because we don't know about these things, and we're working very closely with Rodney Parade on many different areas. And Nigel can then take that back in his operational meetings that he has with them. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? And if nobody's got any other questions, then one. Okay. Go on.
Yeah, hi. It's been very impressive, Mike, in terms of how more professional we are off the field. Just wondering what the situation with Rodney Parade, because I can't go back to Skitty. And in terms of training facilities, is there? I know it's not a never-ending pot of money, but is there potential to have some a bit more structure as opposed to being sort of classroom fit at host, a bit more professional, I suppose.
So I don't know if you've got the FAQs that we've put on there. We've kind of covered the Rodney Parade question in there. I mean, we're working closely with Rodney Parade. There is a willingness with both parties to work in a collaborative fashion, and we both want to end up with a long-term relationship. That's where we are today. There are, as always with these things, there's commercial sensitivities and there's complexities that sit around it. But that is our intention, and it certainly is Rodney Parade's intention to do that. On the training facility side of life, and I'll let James come in a little bit on this, but just to say, and again, we've covered this in the FAQs, we kind of use a hybrid model to a certain extent, which is the Spitty Stadium, and it's a bizarre position whereby we own the building that used to be the old Bar Amber building, so that's ours, and we're like a little enclave in there. But the pitch and the other facilities around it are owned by Newport Council but operated through Newport Live, and we have to use a booking system on that pitch. That said, we're seen as their blue chip client, and we get primacy in terms of that pitch. And Darren today met with Chief Exec of Newport Live, and I know that James has met with him as well. So I think things from that perspective have improved. The other thing that we use once a week, and we'd like to, I don't think it's any great secret, that we'd like to use Dragon Park a lot more, and we're developing a relationship and a closer relationship with the FAW. You would have seen recently that we've taken on and entered into a partnership with them on the girls' development side of life. That helps them deliver their strategy, and that for us is all part of contributing to their agenda, for them helping us with our agenda, as we would like to use Dragon Park a lot more. It's a first-class facility. We're probably the biggest utilisers of it as it sits today. So I don't think that the training side of life is probably as big as a challenge that has been portrayed at times. But I'll let James answer that as well, because they deal with it day to day.
From my perspective, the training facility is it's not Cardiff City, but it's within the remits we're in. It's a League 2 training ground, so it's suitable and it's adequate. And we are in an international sports village that we can utilise facilities in there as well. So from that perspective, I have absolutely, as the manager of the football club, no issues with it. So what helps is my links, your links, the club links to the FAW and Newport Live. So they've been very, very good to me since I've come in anyway. So I have absolutely no issues with the training ground. Always we want to try and improve, which is important, but no, it's been very good. And the building for what Bar Amber is you'd be surprised how functional it is, and fair play to what's been done.
Thanks, James. David, it wouldn't be a meeting without you not asking a question, would it, David? Well done. You can have the last one, David.
I'm not going to ask a question, I'm just going to propose a vote of thanks to the chairman and board for running this club. Well done.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. We appreciate you asking the last question.
And so on that note, on a positive note, we'll bring the meeting to a close. Just to say thanks very much for all the support that you give us. It is much appreciated. And thanks very much for turning out tonight. And hopefully we'll see some of you at Colchester tomorrow. Safe trip back. Thank you. Bye.